Welcome to the Oh So Spurs podcast. If you're looking for a short but sweet debrief on the Southampton game and a podcast mainly focused on the intricacies of Eintracht Frankfurt, did I pronounce that right, HG? There you go. We have with us, as you just heard there, HG, who is 3/4 Tottenham Hotspur, 1/4 Eintracht supporter. How are you, HG?
I'm not bad. That's a very good way of describing me this season, at least. Usually 99-1, but yeah, certainly this season it's been more fun watching Eintracht, and I do follow them pretty strongly.
Well, we are looking forward to your insights on that, because I think a lot of fans are trying to figure out, is this going to be a really hard game, an easy game, somewhere in between? Like, who to look out for, what are their strengths and weaknesses, all those kind of questions are bubbling around. I'm looking forward to answering them. And we have our in-house tactical wizard, Indeed, with a Charlotte t-shirt on today. How are you?
Doing good. My MLS team, Charlotte FC, are not doing terribly this season, which is always fun. I like seeing my soccer teams win.
Good.
I said soccer. It's the MLS. Right in the name, Major League Soccer.
You're allowed to say it in this case. Yeah, okay, I'll let you have that. But guys, we'll just spend a few minutes each on Southampton. We'll put 70% of the focus of this pod into Eintracht. But HG was it one of sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be not? What did you make of the Southampton performance as a whole?
Look, I've gone into the last few league games basically with the idea of preparing for the Europa League games. So as much as I want to see Spurs win, what I really wanted to see was maybe a few more changes than the ones we did. So I'm happy with a win, don't get me wrong, but I feel as if Spurs are going to be the best we can be for the rest of the season, then maybe there is a few other things we could have done. Certainly in the second half when the game was all but over and, Southampton were, relegated all but in the name and they were thinking of the beach. So that was a weird one. But generally, I mean, Spurs won. They created a few decent chances and that seems like a pretty good bar to set, even though I think it's nowhere near good enough for what we want to be.
Well, there was once, I know they were already relegated, but there was a time under a manager, a lot of people want to come back. We were playing a relegated side and we just needed to win to get fourth place. And we came back with the tails between our legs and a 5-1 defeat to Newcastle, didn't we? I'm sure it was for fourth place, wasn't it, that game?
No, right? That was for second.
Second place. Oh my gosh, yeah. So there you go. Sometimes maybe having nothing to play for might be some kind of weird advantage, but I don't know. Deej, you're scowling, not scowling. You're kind of saying, not sure about that. You had some points, Deej, that, there's been the classic extremes of we're back, baby, to it's only Southampton, it doesn't count. And you're saying maybe somewhere in the middle. Is that right? What are your kind of thoughts around it all?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to draw a conclusion from one game, especially against Southampton. It's hard to draw positives or negative. I think that the first half, I think that if you turned the game off at halftime, you would have thought that we're all the way back, baby. If you want to draw any conclusions from a game like this, and then if you only watch the second half, you'd be like, how did we win this game? I don't think you would go that far, but you would be disappointed in the performance if you only saw the second half. But taking it holistically, I think we like HG said, I think that most of these games have been with an eye on the Europa League. So you don't want to overexert your players which would only lead into more injuries, which we've had our fair share of this season, and I would rather avoid those in the future. So I'm not too upset with it. I don't think it means that Angeball is all the way back and that we're going to roll every team we play for the rest of the season, but I also don't think that it's anything overly negative. I think it's a step in the right direction, but nothing more or less than that.
Well, sensibly put, I think, Deej. I'm with you there. So, but let's take the wins. It's better to go into this game with a little bit of confidence, especially for certain players. We don't want to open the Brennan Johnson big debate now, but he was a player in, should we say, not in the best of form, and those goals are hopefully going to help him because we're not getting many goals elsewhere in the team, are we? I think our top goal scorer has 9 goals in the league in Maddison. Is that right? Which is pretty low, really, for your highest goal scorer for a team.
I think Brennan is the top goal scorer in the league.
Is he?
Maybe 11 now. But yeah, it's weird. So someone had to go at me because I pointed out that he'd only scored 4 goals in 2025, although I didn't say only. I thought that was all right. 4 goals. I realise we're in the 4th month now, but we haven't played that many league games considering there's been international breaks and FA Cup and all the rest of it. We've only played 10 or 11 games in 2025 in the league, and so to score 4, it's not Doesn't sound bad if you want to look, well, 2 against Southampton and 2 against Ipswich, then you don't know. But I think like if he wants to play on Thursday, then his chances of the world are good. He could easily start now.
Yep. It's his like, I think he epitomises Spurs in many ways, in the sense, show us the consistency. You can do it consistently, you're going to win everyone over. But when you do it one week and you struggle for the next 3 or 4, you're going to obviously it's going to raise some kind of feedback and questioning around your ability to do it over a whole season. But more exciting than the great Brennan Johnson debate is over whether he just scores goals or is he more than that, and all that stuff, which we'll probably do another tactical deep dive on. Frankfurt, HG. You know them well.
Mm-hmm.
You said they had 3 extremely good young players, some good young players, a couple of very experienced pros, and then half of Leeds' relegated defence. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about, maybe starting from, who are the 2 or 3 main players? If you're a Spurs fan, you say, quick, grab your notepad, write them down and watch these guys. They're the ones to watch. And on the reverse, who should we be targeting to exploit in that game?
I mean, I feel like Eintracht have got much better in the last 6-7 years. They've made a couple of German Cup finals. They won one. They've got to a couple of Europa League runs and managed to win it once. And they've done that by investing in young players, finding them throughout Europe and then giving them a place to play. They sold Jovic for big money.
We're talking about Frankfurt, right? Not Spurs.
Did I say Spurs?
No, I'm joking. Just the way you were describing it was
okay. Well, they've got better over the last 5 years.
Okay, anyway, that bit. Okay, yeah.
That's the big difference. It's interesting that they've been able to find players pretty regularly and sell them on. I mean, they got Marmoush on a free transfer from Werder Bremen, and I don't think anyone really thought there was much in that. And 18 months later, they sold him for a lot of money to Man City. So they've obviously got something right. But right now, the 3 biggest players to me, the 3 that are most likely to leave in the summer, they've got the number 9, Ekiteke. I mean, he's actually number 11, but he plays in the middle up front. And they have a midfielder called Hugo Larsson, who's Swedish and 2021 has been there again. I think this is his 2nd season. And they have a left back who perhaps isn't so well known, but I quite like him. His name's Nathaniel Brown. He is German, despite the very English name, but they signed him from another team in the German divisions, again at the start of last season, maybe the start of this season. And he's come in, and I think he looks a real prospect. He seems very good at almost every part of the game, which, in a world where defenders are usually attackers first and defending if they have to, he seems to be capable of doing both. So they're the 3 that I think are possible, stars for bigger teams in the future. But Ekiteke especially is the one I'm convinced he'll leave this summer and maybe go to the Premier League.
So those are their 3, standout players. You mentioned on the other side of the spectrum, there's a couple of players who we should be perhaps looking to give a bit of a run at. Maybe sending in the mighty Brennan Johnson barrage on. Is that right? Barrage? Yeah, I sounded so posh then. Go on.
It's weird that they have a pretty good defensive record, but I don't really rate their defense. They just kind of keep it tight and then look to explode on the counter-attack. And they were able to do that, especially in the first half of the season when they had Ekiteke and Marmoush, who together were a really good partnership. But they've got the right back, the Danish right back called Rasmus Christensen. He was at Leeds for a bit and didn't play too well. And I've seen him play in Austria for Salzburg, and he wasn't great then. They've also got Robin Koch, who's a German international but played at Leeds for a while. And I've never looked at those 2 players and thought they were very, very good. Clearly, Frankfurt are a good team, and they maybe get the best of what they have. But I don't look at their defenders outside of that left back and think these guys are on their way to a top 6 Premier League team or to a bigger team in Europe. They do also have a left-sided centre back, a Belgian guy called Theater, who, I mean, he's got hair like Cucurella. That's probably the easiest way to explain him, but he's more of a centre-back than Cucurella is. He's all right. I don't love him, but again, he's one of those younger players in his early to mid-20s who is looking for a place to play and maybe somewhere to show off his skills so he can get a move to a bigger league. Again, they're all good, but I don't look at them and think superstars.
So just before I pass on to HG, if Spurs could go and steal one of these players from the clutches of Eintracht in the summer, who would you go for?
I think it has to be Ekiteke, just because of the type of striker he is. He's quite a tall player, but he's one of those tall players who are actually better with their feet than you expect. I know he was linked with Newcastle before they signed Isak. I know that he then went to PSG and didn't play too much because PSG just buy strikers for fun. And now he's found a home at Frankfurt. But again, he's only been there a year and a bit. He joined on loan and then signed permanently in the summer. But he's a really, really good player, and he's 21, 22. He'll be one of those players that make it. And striking, as much as we have a number of options, we've still got Richarlison, we've still got those, we've got a load of youth players that could come through and do the job. If you're going to pick one, I think it probably would be him.
Very good, thank you. And Deej, was there anything else in terms of the Eintracht squad you wanted to add, or did you want to start talking about what you expect to see from a Spurs lineup and how we might set up against them?
I think HG covered most of what I wanted to talk about. I mean, I obviously don't know as much about Eintracht as he does, but I do know about Ekiteke from playing Football Manager in the past. And once a player is a wonder kid on Football Manager, I like to try to kind of keep tabs with them, especially if I use them in one of my own squads, which I didn't end up doing for Ekiteke, but he's still one of those players who's had an interesting career path so far. Like HG said, moved to PSG really young, never really got a chance to make it. I think he had a loan move to West Ham fall through a few years ago and ended up moving to Frankfurt instead. And that seems to have worked out well for him. So he's definitely the player that I'm most concerned going up against. I guess HG, if you would know, I see that they're currently playing with their backup goalie. Is there what's going on with Trapp? Is he expected to be back for the game, or what's going on?
No, he's been injured for a few games, and I think they even came out today and said he won't be. I mean, it was one of those weird stories where they said he's being replaced, but what they meant was he's being replaced on the bench by the third goalkeeper. The Brazilian goalkeeper Santos will start. Maybe Trapp will be back for the second leg, and the same is true of Ansgar Knauf. But right now, Trapp won't play, certainly in the first game, and we'll see what happens for the second one.
So defensively, they sound in a pretty difficult spot, right?
I mean, weirdly, I think the back four is relatively set. They do have another defender called Tuta, who sometimes plays defensive midfield, but has played many years as a centre-back for them. I quite like him. But right wing is probably their weakest spot right now. Like, I think the manager likes to play a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 if he can, but you need to have wingers. And right now, they don't really have a right-sided winger because Knauf is injured. So that's going to be a struggle. I don't know what they're going to do because they played Goetze out there, and obviously he's not a winger. And from what I've heard from my Frankfurt supporting friends, they want to go back to the normal, which is Larsson as the kind of box-to-box starting as a 6. They want to have Goetze as the 10. And whoever they play at right wing is basically almost a placeholder, a cone. They might just have 2 or 3 options that play during those games, but they don't expect to really get much attacking threat from that side.
So they might just use that as an opportunity to nullify Spence rather than try to offer a threat.
This is it. Like, whoever plays left-sided for Spurs, and I personally hope it would be Spence, in theory will be up against a defender who's playing a bit further forward and not a great attacking threat. As I said, the defenders for Eintracht, they are very much safety first. I don't look at them and think they're going to be huge attacking threats. I do think Nathaniel Brown on the left-hand side is better going forward, but they are definitely defensive fullbacks who try to get forward as opposed to attacking threats.
Deej, based on that information, then would you start with Brennan Johnson on the right wing and Sonny on the left, or would you do something different against Frankfurt?
I think it's difficult to say about Brennan Johnson because I'm kind of caught in two minds, because he kind of feels like he deserves to start because he's scored 2 goals in the most recent game, and we are desperate for anyone who's showing any sort of form. But I also think that having a player profile like Odegaard is one that we've asked for a year and a half now. While he hasn't necessarily set the world alight in his playing since returning from injury, I don't think he's done anything particularly wrong either. I think he's given himself a good excuse to start most games, and I kind of think that's why he was rested yesterday, so that he could be match fit to start on Thursday. So I think Son will almost certainly start, more so because I hope he does, because especially if they're more doubly defensive, I think Son's link-up play with the winger, with the wing-back, especially if it's Spence, I think that he looks more natural there than anyone else in that position at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important, especially like HG said, if there's going to be a focus defensively there, then the dribbling won't matter as much as being able to like pick a pass. Like Son seems to, like, I think Son has done better than any of our wingers so far this season. But on the right, I could see an argument for both. I'd probably still lean towards starting Odegaard and bringing on Johnson at around the 60th minute, but I wouldn't necessarily be upset if Johnson started.
HG, are you in agreement there?
I mean, anyone who knows me knows I'm not a huge fan of Brennan Johnson, but I think that I expect Eintracht to be quite defensive. And if there's no space for Johnson to run into, then he's basically, you're reliant on him finishing chances that the rest of the team can create. And I think that we need to be a bit more than that. So I would go with Odegaard. I actually really like Tell, so I'd be happy if Tell started. I think that I know Frankfurt don't want him to play.
Instead of Son or instead of...
No, on the right-hand side.
the right
Again, it's not his favourite position, but I know that Eintracht really wanted him in January, and they tried to convince him. And the Eintracht manager, Topmuller, used to coach him at Bayern, speaks fluent French, Topmuller. So there's a lot of links there that they don't want Tell to start. They really don't. And I think that I just feel that Spurs, we lack the ability to hold the ball up. And given that Frankfurt, okay, they may well defend, but I want to see someone who has the ability to beat a player, and to me that's Tell or Odegaard. I don't think it's Johnson. As great as he is at finishing chances, the away game might be better for him, whoever it is, but probably not Johnson.
I guess and I agree with you. I think it's going to be a classic. Can we break them down? They're going to look to come out this game with a small goal deficit or a draw or sneak a 1-0 win. But one thing Johnson does do, an advantage of the way Johnson plays, is probably that when he's less likely to run at a player that gets dispossessed and see us in a turnover situation. He's more likely to lose the ball and kind of see us concede a throw-in or a corner just by the way he plays. He's not going to run at his man. He's going to lose the ball through a poor cross or miss or kick at a player. So the wingers, we kind of decided on it. We Slanky up front, probably Son on the left, either Tell or Odegaard on the right would be your preference. Decision to make there. Maddison in at 10? Yeah? Or what's your kind of midfield looking like for the game?
I mean, it kind of almost has to be, because the alternative is Kulusevski, who ironically is also probably the player I'd like to start it on the right the most, because he's got that hold-up play that HG was talking about. He's got the ability to carry the ball and not worry about losing it like a few other players in our team can do. But I think that Maddison almost has to start, because if not, we've seen how we play when we don't have that creative type like Maddison in the team, and it just doesn't look very good. So I think it's more of due to a lack of competition than anything, but I definitely think that Maddison will get the start.
So Madder's nailed on for the 10, but the decision I always find is our midfield. That's where no one quite, good players, but no one quite fits the mould of the role perfectly. Is that fair? Like, there's always a decision to make. I don't think I look at Spurs and go, they're our best midfielders. I go, that one's good for that, and that one's good for that. It doesn't seem to be a perfect fit. Do you guys have an opinion on what midfield we should go for in that game?
I still believe, I know this won't happen, I still believe the best 6 we have is Bissouma, who's had a terrible season and doesn't deserve to start, but he's the one player who is comfortable sitting. He doesn't really want to get forward. He doesn't really want to score the goals, and Bentancur does, and Bergvall does, and pretty much anyone else we've played there does. I think Sarr has the skill set to do it and play 6, but he's never been tried there. I think Gray probably has the skill set to play 6, but he's did it once for an hour at Fulham. I don't think we're going to see that. So Bentancur will almost certainly be the 6. I think Bergvall will probably play alongside him and be asked to get further forward. And I think Maddison will be the 10. It's what we've seen quite a lot recently. And I don't think Ange's going to go away from that. I do agree with you, though, that 3 doesn't work for me. And I would be, like, if I was trying to find a better 11, then it wouldn't be a 4-3-3. I'd find a way around that.
Deej, are you in agreement, or do you have a variation in there?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, the problem is that we just don't have a good enough number 6 at the moment, and that's something that we're going to need to address in the summer, regardless of if Ange stays or not. I mean, I've been watching Batiste a bit to try to keep up with Johnny Cardoso, and he seems to be quite a good player. He's putting up good performances against good teams, so that's encouraging. Whether or not we determine that he's of the level that we require, that's to be discussed later in a future episode. But I think that right now, I think that Bentancur is I guess the one that Ange is favoring at the moment. I would guess mostly because of his abilities in possession, but out of possession, he does cause some real problems. He tends to float towards the ball in a way that you kind of want your six to be resistant to. You want them to be more positionally based than vibes based defending, which is what I feel like Bentancur falls into a lot of the time, which can lead to defensive frailties like the goal that we gave up against Chelsea, where there was just a man in the middle of the 6-yard box unmarked when both of our center backs were marking someone. That third man, that should be your six there. And someone who's more positionally aware might have been there. But yeah, I do think it'll be Bentancur, and I don't think you can sit Bergvall the way that he's playing. He is playing fantastically, and man, what a player.
And this is the crazy thing. Like, I think that's why I was slightly frustrated with what we saw against Southampton, is that, to me, that was the perfect opportunity to see what Gray could do as the six. We saw him at Fulham. I don't think he did badly there, but then, of course, Romero was taken off and he had to go play centre-back. I just think that it was a chance to see Gray. It was a chance to see Tell. We know what Son brings. We know all of those things. And I understand that we want to get maybe the starting 11 a bit of confidence going into the game, but I still just think that Spurs are struggling to find the correct players for the system that Ange wants to play. I think we've seen probably, and maybe most of us agree, that having seen Porro and Spence and Udogie get consistent minutes in the last few games, that it's probably going to be Porro down the right and Spence down the left. I think they've looked the best, and weirdly enough, I think it's mostly because Spence looks more comfortable down the left. That's why we'll see that. He's the one that makes the decision. But yeah, it's annoying because I as much as I would feel weird seeing Gray and Bergvall, who are 18 and 19, playing and starting in a European quarterfinal, I also think that actually, what did we have to lose by trying that before? So that's the frustrating thing. We're looking again, and it's been like this for, it feels like 3 or 4 seasons. We don't have a six, and we are trying to plug eights into that role and hope that it functions. And the only time it ever really has is when we had 3 centre-backs behind them under Conte and we made the Champions League. And outside of that, we've struggled. And so it's our biggest weakness by far. And what makes it worse is that Frankfurt are very good in transition. So it's almost like the one thing that we are awful at stopping is where they will be at their most dangerous.
It's funny, isn't it? I think that situation has followed most the managers have had, and the ones that have succeeded have always found that natural six. You look back at the history under when we had Redknapp, and he went and got, was it Palacios or Palacios?
Yeah.
And then when Palacios started to phase out, he went and got Parker. But without those players, the system, we looked really exposed and really defensively fragile. And then you roll on to Pochettino and he went and got Wanyama. And again, like, he wasn't fine on paper. As Wanyama is what, in today's world, he's probably a £20 million player or something. But his profile was perfect for what we needed.
Yeah.
And this team, it feels, just lacks that player. It doesn't have to be a superstar. But like you said, maybe it is Basuma, but in a better place in terms of confidence or whatever. But you do feel like you need that natural six in that side. Deej, I had a question for you then. So just to finish off, I think the defence takes care of itself, right? It's Spence, Van der Ven, Romero, Porro, and then Vicario in goal. Although a couple of people started saying Kinski because of his distribution. I think people are just looking for something new and shiny because whatever. We play a lot of short passes. But in terms of how you expect us to try, do you think we're going to go all guns blazing? Do you think we're going to see a flavour of what we stereotype of what Ange Ball started as and is? Or do you think it's going to be game of two halves like Southampton? Or how do you expect it to go anyway?
I mean, I think the second half will kind of be dependent on the first. I think if we get to a place where, first of all, I think that obviously we don't have the caveat of needing to prepare for probably the most important game of the season in 4 days' time. So I don't think we'll let our foot off the gas, obviously, especially because considering it's a two-leg game. So I don't think that we'll see the same kind of performance drop-off that we did against Southampton. At least I would hope we didn't. But I definitely think, I'm not sure we'll go like all guns blazing, but most of them will certainly be blazing. Like, we won't play like we did against Chelsea, for example, or like we line up against Man City. Because if you like watch us play, we do have a very different way of playing against the teams that are like better than us in the Premier League, the teams that are above us, the like big six teams. We have a different style of play for them as compared to the rest of the league. And I think that playing against Frankfurt we will look closer to the way that we do against the rest of the Premier League, but I do think it'll be a little bit, I would hope at least that it would be a little bit less gung-ho than maybe we've been in the past, just because of the nature of two-leg ties. You obviously want to score as many goals as possible, but also you just can't lose the home leg, especially if it's the first leg.
So give me a score prediction as well, Deej.
I think that this is a game where we will finally see our, for recently maligned number 9 Dom Solanke return to the goals, and so I think we come out of it. I don't want to say 3-1 because that's like a standard guess, but I'll go 2-1. I'll go 2-1.
HG, how do you expect this game to go? You've said Frankfurt have 2 or 3 ways they could line up. One way in particular might suit us, and top it off with your prediction based on that.
I mean, this is it. Like, I do think they'll try and keep it tight, which would indicate to me a relatively low-scoring game because we're not great at beating that. Maybe 1-0. I think very similar to maybe the Alkmaar game in the league, where they came and they did okay, but we got a penalty and we won the game, and that was probably the most important thing. I don't think it's going to be a great game of football because I think that Frankfurt will probably show us a bit too much respect considering as to who we are. But that works for us. If it is a tight game and it goes to Frankfurt in a week and it's 1-0 or even 0-0, I don't think Spurs should be too upset about that because then the pressure is all on Frankfurt. So I think my prediction would be 1-0. You never really know, do you? But yeah, like I don't see Frankfurt being the gung-ho team that they probably could be, and have a better chance of beating us if they did that.
Thanks. Cool. Well, there you go. You have the greatest Frankfurt preview on the internet here, available to you all. And if you remember, you would have got it 6 hours earlier. So you should check out memberships. Actually, should I just make this? Yeah, I'm going to do that. I also all have members content. You can see it in the playlists. So you want to be a member, check that out. But thank you so much, HG and Deej. You guys don't want to make any final comments, or are we all good?
I just want to say that if you are going to Frankfurt, I will be there too. So it better be close. I don't want to go and have a procession. I'd like to see an exciting game in a week. But otherwise, I'm just, it's our first European quarterfinal since the Champions League. The one before that was, I don't know when, was it, Real Madrid or maybe Basel when Salah beat us? It's a while. These games don't come around very often. So I am excited to see what should be a very, very important game. And I hope the fans that go recognise that, and that it isn't just, oh, Spurs, here we go again. That is actually, no, this is a major opportunity.
And on that note, if you're listening to this and you are going and you're thinking, where do I go and what do I do when I'm in Frankfurt? You can write into us, go on the website, or just leave a comment underneath and ask. And we will ask HG for that information.
Yeah.
And get some suggestions for you if that works for you, HG.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. Find the best, what's the standard German food?
Like currywurst. Any kind of sausage is standard German food, but, sauerkraut, we can be stereotypical.
Yeah, okay, I didn't want to say the stereotype myself, but as you're an Eintracht sympathiser and you don't live in the UK anymore, I think you can say it and I can't.
Hey, look, sausage in Germany is far more common than fish and chips in England. It really is everywhere. Oh, you can't go wrong with kebabs, but we have that too. So currywurst, try that.
Yeah, cool. Brilliant. Thanks very much. Up the Spurs and roll on Thursday.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you